So, all right, guys, let's start. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Amara, and I'm the project associate at Kickstart Preparations. And I welcome you all to the IELTS and TOEFL guidance webinar. We are gathered here today कि हम यहाँ पे IELTS और TOEFL की जो टेस्ट होता है वो उसके बारे में बात कर सकें, उसके बारे में आप लोगों को गाइडेंस फराहम कर सकें कि इसमें क्या क्या सेक्शंस होते हैं, इसके बेनिफिट्स क्या हैं, और इसके बारे में आपको डिटेल में हमारी जो इंस्ट्रक्टर हैं फातिमा एहसन वो गाइड करेंगी. So this is what we will be covering. We'll be talking a little about Kicksat, our vision and mission, what we offer. थोड़ा सा हमारे फाउंडर के बारे में, दानिश who's here. उसके अलावा बेनिफिट्स ऑफ आइल्स, थोड़ा बहुत अब हमारी इंस्ट्रक्टर बात करेंगी, वो हमारे सारे सेक्शंस का ब्रेकडाउन बताएंगे कि आइल्स और टोफल में कौन कौन से सेक्शंस होते हैं, आइल्स और टोफल्स का बेसिकली फर्क क्या होता है, वो सारा कवर करेंगी. और हर सेक्शन के बारे में थोड़ी सी गाइडेंस देंगी आपको. इट वोंट बी वे मतलब हर क्वेश्चन तो ऑब्वियसली हम उस तरह से नहीं कर सकेंगे, लेकिन वी विल बी टॉकिंग इन डिटेल अबाउट एवरी सेक्शन. So in the end we'll also be having a question and answer session. लेकिन सेशन के दौरान भी आपका कोई भी सवाल हो तो you can write in the chat box. सेशन के दौरान इंटरप्ट नहीं करिएगा, क्योंकि वो फिर एक स्ट्रीम ऑफ थॉट चल रहा होता है तो वो इंटरप्ट हो जाता है. तो लेकिन आप एंड पे आप लोगों को मौका मिलेगा कि आप सवाल जवाब कर सकें, लेकिन सेशन के दौरान आप लोग चैट बॉक्स में लिख सकते हैं. So before we start the session, we would like to know कि आप लोग की इस सेशन से क्या एक्सपेक्टेशंस है. और कुछ लोगों ने अपने आप को इंट्रोड्यूस किया था, लेकिन कुछ लोग रह गए थे. So if they want to say anything, we can do this under a minute. If you want, मतलब आप किस जो when you saw the session कि अच्छा ये guidance webinar हुआ है, what did you expect to gain from this session?
I think we have some answers that लोगों ने introduce किया है, but I think there are some other people that I would like to request if they can answer as well. What are their expectations from the session? आप लोग chat box के अंदर लिख सकते हैं. Otherwise, Fadi, I've read your comment. You're aiming for 7.5 bands and your IELTS is scheduled after 2 months, which is a good enough time if you are spending about 10-15 hours a week on your preparation. I think वो काफी आपके लिए इनफ टाइम है इफ यू आर स्पेंडिंग टाइम ऑन द प्रिपरेशन. और फिर एक महीना आप हमारे अगर सेशन का हिस्सा बनते हैं तो उसमें आपका कदरे सारे जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं वो क्लियर हो जाएंगे, उसकी किसी हद तक प्रैक्टिस भी हो जाएगी. एंड देन फॉर द लास्ट 1 month यू कैन जस्ट फोकस ऑन ऑल द प्रैक्टिस ऑन योर ओन. Okay, I don't think we have any other yeah, we don't have any other comments, so we can probably move on to the next slide.
Right. So moving on, we're going to talk about the vision and mission of Kicksat. So basically, जो हमारे Kicksat का vision है, वो basically to bridge the gap between to make standardized testing accessible and affordable. तो हम SAT, IELTS और GRE के courses offer करते हैं, जो basically standardized test हैं different universities और different streams के लिए. जैसे IELTS काफी चीजों के लिए होता है, जैसे UK के लिए जो लोग यूके में यूनिवर्सिटी में एडमिशन लेना चाहते हैं बैचलर्स के लिए या मास्टर्स के लिए, उसके लिए होता है. तो वो एक स्टैंडर्डाइज टेस्ट है जो 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 एक रिक्वायरमेंट. तो उसके लिए इसी तरह सैट होता है, एल कैट होता है, आइल्स होता है. तो वी ऑफर स्टैंडर्डाइज टेस्टिंग एंड वी मेक इट अफोर्डेबल एज कम्पेयर टू जो बाकी सर्विसेज अवेलेबल है मार्केट के अंदर. उसके अलावा our mission is big. It is to facilitate the dreams of more than 10,000 Pakistani students by the end of 2025. We're not very close to this mission, but we're working on it. And so far, we have taught over 800 students, and we hope to do more. Uh, right. So again, about Kicksat, it is working on like I said, we are working on SAT, GRE, and IELTS preparation. We offer up to 100% financial aid to students who cannot pay. And these are some of the interesting numbers of Kicksat preparations. Danish, would you like to take over now?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Amara. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Formally, I think I have kind of interacted with all of you guys already. मैंने किक सेट प्रिपरेशन 2018 के अंदर आई थिंक इनफॉर्मली वी स्टार्टेड ऑफरिंग स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड टेस्ट प्रिपरेशन सर्विसेज। लेकिन उसमें हमारा असल मकसद ये था कि हम सिर्फ फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट स्टूडेंट्स को पढ़ाना चाहते थे, सैट की तैयारी करवाना चाहते थे फॉर दोज जो लम्स में एडमिशन लेना चाह रहे थे, बिकॉज आई वाज स्टडीइंग एट लम्स माई सेल्फ। लेकिन उस टाइम पे हमें एहसास हुआ कि बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं जो इसी किस्म की हेल्प चाहते हैं, तो हमने फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट एक सेशन ऑफर किया एंड वी हैड अ लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स हु जॉइंड इन फॉर दैट एसएटी सेशन। और कोई उम्मीद नहीं थी हमें कि हम बहुत अच्छा पढ़ा सकेंगे, क्योंकि कभी पहले सैट पढ़ाया नहीं था, अपने सैट के स्कोर्स कुछ अच्छे नहीं थे, बट वी डिड रियली वेल विद दैट सेशन। हमारे स्टूडेंट्स के बहुत अच्छे स्कोर्स आए एंड देन इन द नेक्स्ट सीजन जब लम्स के एडमिशंस खुले तो उन्हीं स्टूडेंट्स में से 5 स्टूडेंट्स का लम्स में एडमिशन हुआ। एंड आई थिंक दैट वाज द मोमेंट वेयर वी फेल्ट के अच्छा ये एक ऐसी चीज है जो हम आगे कर सकते हैं, हम इसको प्रॉपर इंस्टीट्यूट के तौर पर स्टैब्लिश कर सकते हैं। बट हमारा विजन यही था कि हम इसको सस्टेनेबल बनाना चाहते हैं, सो पीपल हु कैन अफोर्ड टू पे दे विल पे, एंड पीपल हु कैन नॉट अफोर्ड टू पे दे विल पे द अमाउंट दैट they can afford to pay, or if they cannot afford at all, we would not charge them anything. Mosif, अगर आपको आवाज नहीं आ रही तो I can assure you that most of the people can hear. So refer to the recording afterwards if you can hear me. किसी के लिए भी अगर रिकॉर्डिंग का कोई इशू होता है तो आपको रिकॉर्डिंग मिल जाएगी, आप उसके बाद रिकॉर्डिंग को देख सकते हैं। सो खैर हमने 2019 के अंदर आगाज किया सैट और जीआरई की सर्विसेज के साथ, एंड देन 2020 ऑनवर्ड्स हमने आइट्स की सर्विसेज भी ऑफर करना शुरू की। एंड these are a few numbers that we have. हम 800 प्लस स्टूडेंट्स को पढ़ा चुके हैं, ये नंबर तो एक्यूरेट है। एज पर एज सक्सेसफुल एडमिशंस आर कंसर्न्ड, हमारे पास बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स ऐसे आते हैं जो तैयारी तो करते हैं बट उसके बाद दे डोंट स्टे इन टच, तो हमारे पास वो नंबर नहीं आ पाता। बट ये वो 150 का वो नंबर है जिनका हमें नॉलेज है। We have 61 of our students who are studying at LUMS or who have studied from LUMS already. वो पास आउट कर चुके हैं और हम 350 से ज्यादा स्टूडेंट्स को फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट पढ़ा चुके हैं, विच इज अ बिग नंबर। वी आर नॉट फंडेड बाय एनीबडी, नोबडी फंड्स अस, आई डोंट मेक एनी मनी आउट ऑफ किकसैट। जितने भी लोग पे करते हैं किकसैट के लिए उनकी वजह से वी आर एबल टू रन द शो। किसी महीने हो सकता है मेरी जेब से पैसे लगते हो, मेरी जेब में आते नहीं है, मगर अगर आप पूरे साल में देखते हैं तो it's sustainable. We are able to make enough money to pay our instructors, but we are hoping कि हम इसको ज़्यादा बढ़ कर सकें, and anybody who joins the session they will become part of our vision, ताकि हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को सर्व कर सकें। Let's move on to the next slide. अच्छा, सो हमारे सेशंस के अंदर ऑब्जेक्टिव ये होता है कि हम स्टूडेंट्स को उनकी पेस के हिसाब से लेकर चलना चाहते हैं। ऑल्दो दिस इज अ लाइव सेशन, सो इसको हम एक्यूरेटली 100% सेल्फ पेस नहीं कह सकते, मगर हमारा मकसद ये होता है कि हम लाइव सेशंस के अंदर सारे स्टूडेंट्स को साथ लेकर चलें, एंड इफ देयर इज एनीबडी हु इज स्ट्रगलिंग दे कैन रीच आउट टू द इंस्ट्रक्टर्स एंड मेक श्योर के उनको वो अंडरस्टैंडिंग मिल सके जो उनको सेशन से नहीं मिल सकी, एंड द इंस्ट्रक्टर वुड बी there to guide the student individually as well. हम हमारी कोशिश ये होती है कि हम जितना ज्यादा स्टूडेंट सेंट्रिक अप्रोच के साथ अपने सेशंस को डिजाइन कर सकें, ताकि आप लोगों के लिए हर कॉन्सेप्ट को समझना आसान हो, ज्यादा से ज्यादा हाई क्वालिटी रिसोर्सेज आपको प्रोवाइड किए जाएं ताकि आप प्रॉपर तरीके से कॉन्सेप्ट को अंडरस्टैंड भी कर सकें और प्रैक्टिस भी कर सकें। और इसके साथ साथ आई एम बेस्ड इन द यूके, सो मेरे पास अगर कोई ऐसी इन्फॉर्मेशन है जिससे आप लोगों को फायदा हो सकता है या फातिमा का एक्सपीरियंस है तो वो आपको गाइड कर सकती हैं टॉफल या आइट्स के हवाले से कि अच्छा आपके पास आगे क्या क्या अपॉर्चुनिटीज हो सकती हैं। सो हमारी कोशिश ये होती है कि हम सिर्फ एज एन इंस्ट्रक्टर या एज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आप लोगों के साथ काम ना करें। आप अगर हमारे सेशन का हिस्सा बनते हैं तो उसके बाद हम जिस हद तक आपकी मेंटोरशिप कर सकते हैं या आप अपनी हमारी कम्युनिटी से या हमारे नेटवर्क से आपको जो भी सपोर्ट मिल सकती है हम आपको वो दिलवाने की ज्यादा से ज्यादा कोशिश करते हैं। ये जो आपका रिलेशनशिप रहता है विद किकसैट, दैट इज नॉट ऑफ instructor and a student, it's more like a mentor and mentee, and other way around as well. A lot of times we learn a lot of things from our students as well, and we are always open to learning from them. Next slide. This is the most irrelevant slide of the presentation, so I wouldn't take a lot of time. I've been working in the education sector for a few years, and currently I am based in the UK. I work as a product manager for an international ed tech, which is based in the US. And I graduated from LUMS 2021. I mean, officially 2021, unofficially 2022 में मैंने graduate किया था. And I'm passionate to help students like you guys to achieve their academic dreams, whatever it takes, any kind of help that you guys think I can offer you. you can always reach out to me. मैं आप लोगों के जो वेबिनार का गाइडेंस ग्रुप है उसके अंदर भी मौजूद हूँ, आप मुझे व्हाट्सएप पे रब्ता कर सकते हैं। मैं थोड़ा सा लेट हो सकता हूँ आपको रिप्लाई करने में, बट आई वुड लव टू हेल्प यू आंसर एनी क्वेश्चंस दैट यू गाइस मे हैव। And I think that is pretty much it from my side for the day. I will give it over to Amara. उम्मीद है कि I will see some of you guys in our IELTS and TOEFL session. Thank you so much. Over to you, Amara.
Thank you so much, Danish. Now, guys, let's talk about IELTS and TOEFL. I want to know कि आप लोगों की अभी तक क्या understanding है IELTS और TOEFL को लेके, so we can answer your questions accordingly. And why are you thinking to appear for it? ये काफी लोगों ने answer कर दिया था. So if anyone else wants to answer it, so we would love to have your responses. All right, that's fine. Let's move on. So let's talk about IELTS. IELTS is basically the English proficiency test for study, work, and immigration, and it can be taken on paper and online. ये सारा कुछ आपको फातिमा भी गाइड कर देंगी, और TOEFL भी इसी तरह English proficiency test है for academic admissions, and it can also be taken on paper or online in a prometric center. IELTS जो है वो British Council offer करती है, जबकि TOEFL जो है वो educational testing service offer करती है. इसी तरह दोनों की वैलिडिटी इज 2 years, एंड IELTS जो है उसके ग्लोबल टेस्ट टेकर्स आर मोर देन TOEFL. So now I'll be handing it over to Fatima, who is our instructor. Welcome, Fatima. So she graduated from Royal Holloway University of London and has 3+ years of teaching experience in English. She's skilled in IELTS and TOEFL preparation. So those of you who will be joining our session can benefit from her experience. She is always very eager to help students in sharpening their English skills, and she's very passionate in creating a sort of bridge for them in their IELTS and TOEFL exam. So now, Fatima, I want you to take over, and I hope you all will ask all your questions you guys have.
Thank you, Amara. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Fatma, and I'll be your instructor for the upcoming session. Next slide, Amara, please. So basically, first, obviously, you guys have some idea why you want to give the IELTS exam or the TOEFL exam, whichever you want to give. So the general benefits of both of them are obviously that whether you are planning to apply to a university abroad, or whether you are planning to get immigration, or you're planning to work in a country that requires English-speaking countries, they require IELTS or TOEFL uh, tests in order to check your English proficiency. So these are obviously the reasons why you will have to appear for these tests, and naturally this will improve your English proficiency after you have given these tests. So if you're appearing for the IELTS exam, you need to know whether you are going to be applying for the IELTS academic or the IELTS general. Academic is when mostly you want to give it, you will have to give it if you're applying to university, undergrad program, let's say, or you're applying for a student visa to an English speaking country. And IELTS is mostly given for countries that are out of the US. And all those who are applying to countries within the US will be going for a TOEFL exam. Most probably they'll be those students who are applying for US colleges, US-based colleges. Okay, now we'll move on to the structure for IELTS. Next slide, please. Amara, could you change the slide? Okay. So these are a few basic differences. The test duration for IELTS is 2 hours 45 minutes, while TOEFL is 3 hours. The scoring, as most of you already know, is going to be on a range of 1 to 9, and for TOEFL it is from 0 to 120. IELTS, as I mentioned, is either you are going to go for an academic test or a general test. So both of these have certain variations in the questions. कुछ questions में आपको difference feel होगा. So इसलिए you need to know which one you're going to give. And inshallah, in our session, we will be helping you prepare for whichever you are going to give. And TOEFL is going to be either internet based or paper based. And in both of these types of exams, TOEFL के भी इन दोनों exams में there are different questions. Certain things are different. That's why you need to know exactly which one to give in order for us to be able to help you prepare for it in the best way possible. Okay, moving on to the pattern. Now these both of these tests have four components. First, we'll talk about IELTS. The four sections. There's going to be a listening section, a reading section, a writing section, and a speaking section. And as you can see on the screen on the slide, the duration for listening is 30 minutes. Reading will be 60. Writing will also be 60 minutes, and speaking will also be 11 to 14 minutes. So you will be having a one-on-one conversation with your examiner. And we'll move on to each section and we'll discuss them independently. Okay, next slide. Now the listening exam. So the listening exam will obviously test your ability to be able to, grasp the English that you are listening in a certain audio that they will play for you. And they will test whether you are able to follow how the argument is developing, and then you will have to answer certain questions according to that recording that you will listen to. The questions will vary from MCQs. They could be like labeling questions, sentence completion questions. These are the kind of questions that normally come. So this is something that we will definitely be practicing in our sessions in order to make you aware of the exact questions that not the exact questions, but the format that you will be asked. A few tips that we do share with our students and which we will practice in our sessions is that for your listening exam, it's best to try and engage yourself in activities which involve listening to different audios and podcasts or audiobooks, or listening to watching a show in English language without the subtitles in order to improve your listening ability so that you are able to understand exactly what the people are saying. Next slide, please. So yes, in the listening exam, you will have, they will play 4 recordings for you. The first recording is going to be conversation between 2 people, and it's mostly in a everyday context. It's going to be about work or any random topic. Topics are usually repeated. So we will definitely go over these the common topics and the common themes in our session. The second recording is going to be a monologue, and it will also be set in an everyday context. Third recording is a conversation between 3 to 4 people, and the fourth is a monologue on an academic subject. So these are the kind of audios or the kind of recordings that you can expect. Okay, then moving on. All right, so TOEFL also has the same 4 sections. So there are certain slight differences between both of them. So as you can see, for the listening section, IELTS is for 30 minutes and TOEFL is for 60 to 90 minutes. The number of questions in the IELTS listening section are 40, and in the TOEFL, they are 40 to 60 questions. The question types are the same. MCQs, matching, sentence completion, etc. And as for the sections, IELTS has 4 sections, 4 recordings, as we saw in the previous slide, and they are the conversations and monologues and dialogues. And for TOEFL, they have more like a lecture and a conversation. That's the kind of audio that you can expect. Okay, moving on. Now coming to the reading section. In the reading section, you will be given 3 passages and you will have to read those passages, and you will be given questions related to those passages which you will have to answer. So you will basically read and get a main idea of the passage, and you will have to One thing that in this in the reading exam is obviously that you have to work on your vocabulary, and something that we will focus in our session is that you improve your vocabulary and your and we focus on difficult words, because if you're not able to understand what a sentence means, it's very difficult to answer a question. So vocabulary improvement is very important, and that is something that we will focus on by reading a lot of assigning. We will give a lot of reading tasks to you, and you will have to and we also suggest a lot of reading activities in general, like in your daily life, for trying to read things that interest you, not completing whole novels, but like articles, magazines, blogs, but kind of engaging yourself in reading activities, which will help immensely help you in your reading as well as writing sections of this exam. Moving on. So the format for the reading section is you will have 40 questions. There will be 3 long passages, and you will answer the questions from these passages. The passages will be taken from books, journals, magazines, and newspapers. And you will just have to answer the related questions that they will be asking you. Okay, moving on. All right. So the difference between the IELTS and TOEFL reading section is that IELTS is 60 minutes. The section for IELTS is 60 minutes, while for TOEFL it's 60 to 100 minutes. The number of questions are 40 for IELTS and 30 to 40 for TOEFL, which depends on the internet-based and the paper-based, whichever you go for. And then for passage types, there are going to be 3 passages in IELTS, which will be very like more like academic style passages, and even general. So they can come from like journals or articles, etc. And TOEFL will have about 3 to 5 passages depending on the one that you choose. And the question types will be MCQs and matching the correct words to meanings, or completing sentences. These kind of questions can be expected. Okay, moving on. All right, for the writing exam, you will have 2 writing tasks. And the first task you will sort, and you will have to describe it and summarize that in your own words. Whatever you see and all the data that you can see, you have to write about that. You have to summarize that. And in the second task, you will be asked to write an essay in response to a point of view, argument, or problem. So they will either give you a writing prompt or a question, and you will have to write an essay on that question or prompt. And the time duration for the writing section is 60 minutes, but it's divided into 20 and 40. So 20 minutes for the first task and 40 minutes. So you have to be very careful, because the second task will has more weightage. And so sometimes we recommend that you do the second one before you do the first one, because in the second one, you need more time to think as you're writing an essay. And in the first one, you just have to, collect the data from the given diagram. So it's always better to make sure that you manage your time effectively and you don't lose marks just because of time management. So both IELTS and TOEFL will have 2 tasks. The only difference is that in IELTS, the first task, you will have to describe a graph or chart, whereas in TOEFL, the first task, you have to write an essay. And in IELTS, the second task involves writing an essay, whereas in TOEFL, they will give you first they'll give you a passage, and then you will also be given a lecture to listen to, and then you will have to write about it in the form of a summary. Okay. Moving on. Okay. Last, we have the speaking exam. The speaking exam is usually takes place a few days after your the reading, writing, and listening. Those 3 happen on the same day, but the speaking exam will happen after a few days. You will get the option to select the date, and then you have to go there separately, and it's best to opt for this separate on a separate day, because then you are fresh and ready to answer all the questions. Now, in the speaking exam, the first part, you will have to introduce yourself. The examiner will ask you general questions about you, your work, and your family, studies, etc. And you have to talk naturally for 4 to 5 minutes. The part two, you will have the examiner will give you a card which will have a topic on it. And then you will be given a few minutes to make notes on that topic. And then you will have to talk about that topic for 1 to 2 minutes. The topic can be any that is not something that you can know beforehand, but you will have to make think about what you will say in those 1 to 2 minutes that you will be given. And in the third part, you will be given 4 to 5 minutes, and the examiner will ask you more questions related to the topic that was previously given to you in part two, and you will have to discuss those. A few tips that we give for the speaking part, which greatly help, is that you should try and talk as naturally as possible. Because if you prepare any memorized answers, and if you give like a robotic memorized answer, it will put a bad impression on the examiner. And it's best to sort of give a very natural answer, and it's best to make it sound like you're actually genuinely answering. Now, a good example of this that I'd like to share over here is that, for example, if the examiner asks you what your favorite drink is, and if you start naming a few drinks that you like, let's say you say that I like mint margarita, and I also like I like a Pepsi, and then I sometimes I like pina coladas or whatever. Now, what you're doing is you're making a list of all the drinks that you know, and that is not the best way to score a band 9. You can probably score like a 5, 6, but to take it to 9, it's best to sort of go through the whole experience. So rather than just naming the drinks, you can tell why that is your favorite drink. For example, if you're saying my favorite drink is a mint margarita, let's say, and it's best to sort of talk about it a little more and tell the examiner why. Like, you can say that, on a hot day, it is a very refreshing feeling to have that drink, and matlab, you can just add on to this using whatever you feel like. So this is the best way to give this impression to the examiner that you have a good grip on your English. Okay, moving on. Okay, the difference between the IELTS and TOEFL English, TOEFL speaking section is that the IELTS duration is 11 to 14 minutes, whereas TOEFL is a bit longer, 17 to 20. The speaking style in IELTS is face to face. So you will be sitting one-on-one with your examiner and you will be answering questions. In TOEFL, there will be recorded responses. There will be 3 sections in the IELTS. As we saw in the previous slide, you will be introducing yourself, then you will be discussing a specific topic, and then you will be further discussing the same topic. And in TOEFL, there are 4 sections, which will include reading something aloud, listening, and then speaking about a certain topic. The question types in IELTS are open-ended, and it is more discussion-based. And in TOEFL, the question types are integrated and they are independent tasks. Okay, so our session by Kickstarter preparations is going to be starting from the 14th of October. The class days will be Monday to Wednesday, and the timings will be 5 to 7. And we will have a test on Fridays in order to make sure that you are getting as much practice as possible. Okay, Amara, should I hand it over to you now?
Yes, thank you so much, Fatima, for a detailed insight on everything. Now we can move on to questions. Some of the additional perks of joining our session is that we encourage peer discussion groups. We have WhatsApp groups जिसपे instructors भी available होते हैं and students भी होते हैं. So you can discuss different questions. You can discuss different tasks that have appeared on IELTS, etc. So we have a very sort of community building approach. Okay, and we also, like Danish said earlier, that we stay connected with our students unless the student doesn't want to stay connected. Then, as far as mentorship is concerned, तो उस लिहाज से जैसे Danish is in UK, so that also helps, and we also connect students to people who can help them. And yeah, besides that, for example, especially for undergraduate admissions, we provide guidance regarding personal statements, college essays, statements of purpose, etc. And yeah, besides that, we also have a surprise for everyone who has signed up. So we're going to offer a 20% discount to whoever has joined this session. And after that discount, our fee would be 20,000 rupees instead of 25,000. For students who cannot pay, we also offer financial aid, but also only after proper verification. Now, let's move on to questions. I want you guys to ask anything you guys have in mind regarding a particular section of IELTS, regarding any regarding registration of IELTS, regarding time duration for studying, etc., schedule, anything at all. So, and I'm sure Fatma will be happy to answer them. किसी का कोई भी सवाल है तो they can either unmute or they can share their questions in the chat box.
Okay, so Shahzad is asking if IELTS is mandatory for Germany. And it depends on the university that you're applying to, or if you're going on a work visa, then it depends on your employer. Like the company that you're going to be working for, they will tell you whether it's mandatory or not. So it depends on either of those things. You can tell me if you are applying for a university, and then I can probably help you better. Safia is asking, is it necessary to speak in British accent? So in your speaking, you don't have to speak in any accent. You can speak as naturally as possible. And it's best to not speak in a fake accent. You can just speak normally and just be clear with your words, and don't try to use words that you're not sure कि कैसे pronounce होते हैं. So just speak as naturally as possible and use easy words which you are familiar with. Okay, Ashar is asking what's more acceptable, IELTS or TOEFL? I want to take one test. I want to have more available options. So IELTS is required for non-US countries. So it depends. Like if you are going to English-speaking country, if you're going to Australia, UK, such European countries, you might want to you go for IELTS. But if you want to go to the US, then TOEFL would be a more likely option. Okay, can you send the slides on WhatsApp after the lesson, please? Yes, Amara, I think we can.
Yes.
So, you're more than welcome, Safia. And will we take the weekly tests? We will have weekly tests on Fridays. I think we will WhatsApp you the test that that you need to, the task that you need to complete, and then you can submit those. And then we will also have time tests. So you will have to complete them in the required time. Mm. Listening MCQs method. लिसनिंग एमसीक्यूज का बस मेथड ये है दैट जब लिसनिंग सेक्शन में दे विल आपको एक ऑडियो प्ले करेंगे वो, जिसमें आपको देयर इज गोइंग टू बी कोई कॉन्वर्सेशन हो रही होगी, या कोई एक बंदा खाली मोनोलॉग बोल रहा होगा। तो पहले तो हम यू विल लिसन टू दैट। उसके बाद नीचे फिर वो आपको उससे उसी कॉन्वर्सेशन के रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस देंगे, या तो वो आपको एमसीक्यू देंगे या वो आपको फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स टाइप क्वेश्चंस देंगे, और वो आपने उस ऑडियो से रिलेटेड चीजों को कंप्लीट उन आंसर्स को आंसर करना यूजिंग दैट ऑडियो। TOEFL, no, TOEFL is not acceptable in the UK or Germany, because it is only used in non-English speaking countries outside in within US. Okay, proper. Amara, can you guide proper verification for financial aid?
Yes. So once you will register using the form, we will send you a set of questions and document requirements that you need to send us. For example, कोई भी चीज हो सकती है, मंथली इनकम वगैरह, उसका प्रूफ और ये सारा कुछ वो हम आपको गाइड कर देंगे। लेकिन आप क्या करेंगे, आप फॉर्म फिल करेंगे एंड हमारे उसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन होता है कि डू यू नीड फाइनेंशियल एड। सो वन इफ यू हैव सिलेक्टेड दैट, हमारी टीम में से उमैमा जो है वो आपको कांटेक्ट करेंगी एंड दे विल एंड शी विल प्रोवाइड यू ऑल द क्वेश्चंस that you have to answer or verification that is required for financial aid.
Okay, someone is asking which is the easiest one, IELTS or TOEFL. जैसे आपने देखा पिछले slides में, they are quite similar. दोनों के they have 4 sections. So दोनों में I don't think there's any easier one. Both of them are quite same, और उनकी preparation भी तकरीबन एक तरीके से होगी. So they are similar. तो आप बस वही opt करें जो आपकी requirement है. आपकी या तो इधर आपका वर्क रिक्वायरमेंट है या यूनिवर्सिटी रिक्वायरमेंट है, तो उसके हिसाब से they're quite similar. जर्मन, देन आपको आइल्स की जरूरत है कि नहीं? मैं लाइक आई सेड बिफोर कि आपको अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी, जो भी स्पेसिफिक यूनिवर्सिटी जहाँ पे आपने अप्लाई करना है ना, उधर के लिए यू नीड टू चेक। या अगर आपकी कोई कंपनी है, अगर आप वर्क के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हैं, तो यू हैव टू चेक विद देम, बिकॉज हर किसी की डिफरेंट डिफरेंट रिक्वायरमेंट्स होती हैं। कुछ आइल्स रिक्वायर नहीं करती हैं, कुछ करती हैं। सो यू नीड टू चेक विद द एग्जैक्ट प्लेस दैट यू हैव टू अप्लाई टू, एंड देन यू विल फाइंड आउट। Sure, no problem.
Do we have any more questions?
नहीं, ये तो वेबिनार है ना, दिस इज जस्ट फॉर योर इंट्रोडक्शन। ये सेशन जो फॉर्मली 14th अक्टूबर से स्टार्ट होगा, नॉट फ्रॉम टुमारो। Is required daily. So on a daily basis, it's good to at least practice for 1 hour. And बाकी ये है कि like I said पहले, English language obviously is not something जो आप ऐसे बैठ के बस याद कर सकते हैं। तो it's best कि आप ऐसी एक्टिविटीज में अपना आपको engage करें जिसमें बहुत ज्यादा आप इंग्लिश में इन्वॉल्व हों। जैसे टॉकिंग टू पीपल इन इंग्लिश, इंग्लिश शो देखें कोई, लिसन टू ऑडियो बुक्स एंड टेड टॉक्स, और इस तरह की चीजें अगर आप लग के बैठ के नहीं भी पढ़ रहे 2 घंटे, बट दिन में छोटे छोटे टाइमिंग्स में, कभी ड्राइव करते हुए, कभी कुछ करते हुए, इफ यू लिसन टू दीज थिंग्स और ये छोटी छोटी चीजें आप ऐड करेंगे, तो दिस विल डेफिनेटली हेल्प यू इन गेटिंग अ बैंड 9। No problem. Okay, so how many hours do you need to prepare for 7.5? An hour every day for 2 months is good enough. आप हर रोज 1 घंटा इसको दें बैठ के, and then obviously हम आप लोगों को सेशन में करवाएंगे जो 3 days a week होगा. उसके अलावा जो बाकी डेज होंगे जब सेशन नहीं होगा तब आप प्रैक्टिस करें. वी विल गिव यू, हम आपको होमवर्क के लिए टास्क भी देंगे ऑब्वियसली, ताकि आप प्रैक्टिस कर सकें एज मच एज पॉसिबल 2 months के अंदर. तो you will be inshallah able to achieve your goal. 2 months is good enough time if you give an hour every day even.
किसी और का कोई सवाल हो तो we can answer and then we can conclude.
So do I need to start with IELTS techniques or I need to increase my English knowledge? So basically जो आपकी IELTS techniques हैं वो आपकी इंग्लिश की नॉलेज को ही इंक्रीज करेंगे. इंग्लिश की नॉलेज ऐसे कोई ऑब्वियसली इट्स नॉट लाइक कि आप उसको मेमोराइज तो नहीं कर सकते ना. तो ये जो प्रैक्टिस हम करवाएंगे आपको और आइल्स की जो टेक्निक्स होंगी वो आपकी इंग्लिश को ही इम्प्रूव करने के लिए हैं बेसिकली. तो वो टेक्निक्स आपको स्पेसिफिक उसके लिए उसके अलावा कुछ इंग्लिश नॉलेज के लिए करने की जरूरत नहीं है. जस्ट दीज टेक्निक्स, ये सेशन प्रैक्टिस टेस्ट और छोटी छोटी टिप्स जो हम एक्स्ट्रा आपको देंगे और भी आप हमने इसमें डिस्कस किए, वो सब आपके इंग्लिश की इम्प्रूवमेंट के लिए काफी हैं.
Any other questions? So Javed, for the fee structure for our 4 week session is 20,000 rupees, 25,000 rupees. But since आपने ये session join किया है, तो आपके लिए the session is for 20,000 rupees for 4 weeks. And इसके अंदर टेस्ट भी included है और classes भी included है. और भी जो IELTS का practice material वगैरह भी आपके साथ share कर दिया जाएगा. Right. If we don't have any more questions, we can conclude. We're just going to wait for 2 minutes and then we can end the session if no one has any questions. For those in the session, let me repeat the session days and time. Our session is starting from 14th October, which is Monday. So Monday से Wednesday तक हमारी classes होंगी and then we will have a test on Friday and this will go on for 4 weeks. और इसका 4 weeks का मतलब है कि आपकी टोटल 12 क्लासेस होंगी एंड टोटल 4 टेस्ट होंगे जो कि हमारे व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में शेयर किए जाएंगे और इसके अलावा द फीस स्ट्रक्चर इज 25,000 rupees, but for those who have joined the session they can avail the session in 20,000 rupees. Right, we have a question, so Fatma, I think you can answer.
प्रेप सेशन में वैसे ही गाइड किया जाएगा जैसे फिजिकल क्लासेस में करते हैं किसी आइल्स। यस ऑफ कोर्स वी विल ट्राई आवर बेस्ट कि जैसे आप फिजिकल क्लास में जाके आइल्स के लिए एकेडमी में पढ़ते हैं इट्स बेसिकली गोइंग टू बी द सेम थिंग, बस हम ऑनलाइन ऑब्वियसली सेशन ऑनलाइन होगा बट एज मच एज वी कैन प्रैक्टिस आपको करवाएंगे एंड आपको टिप्स और रिसोर्सेज बुक्स ऑनलाइन पीडीएफ बुक्स वगैरह आपके साथ शेयर करेंगे एंड इट्स गोइंग टू बी द सेम। यूनिवर्सिटी एडमिशन के लिए आईएलटीएस मैटर करते हैं या फिर मार्क्स? आईएलटीएस बैंड्स, यस बैंड मैटर करता है। आपका बैंड जो है दैट इज आईएलटीएस की मार्किंग जो है वो बैंड से ही होती है। इट्स गोइंग टू बी 0 to 9 के बीच में कोई भी आपका बैंड स्कोर आएगा और हर यूनिवर्सिटी की अपनी एक रिक्वायरमेंट होती है मिनिमम कि सिक्स आएगा आपका बैंड स्कोर जो है, यस तो फिर वो आपको एक्सेप्ट करेंगे। कुछ का इस तरह 7 पॉइंट मतलब दे हैव देयर ओन रिक्वायरमेंट। तो जो आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी की रिक्वायरमेंट होगी उसके हिसाब से वो फिर आपकी एलिजिबिलिटी होगी एडमिशन की। ई कैट मार्क्स आई एम नॉट अवेयर कि ये कौन से आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी पर डिपेंड करेगा कि आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी का क्या क्राइटेरिया है। तो जो जौन सी यूनिवर्सिटी में आप अप्लाई करेंगे जब आप उनकी एलिजिबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया देखेंगे तो वो एग्जैक्टली आपको बताएंगे कि किस चीज़ के कितने मार्क्स मिनिमम होने चाहिए। तो ये हर यूनिवर्सिटी का वेरी करता है।
All right, I think most of you have asked your questions, so let's conclude this session. Thank you so much, Fatima, for your time and for joining the webinar, and thank you so much to the participants who joined the session. All those who are interested in the IELTS session starting from 14th October can sign up on the link to the registration form that we will be sharing in the group. Uh, Javed has raised his hand. Javed, do you want to ask a question? If yes, you can unmute and ask. Okay, no problem. So that is it for the session. Again, I was saying कि जिसने भी register करना होगा हम form share कर देंगे registration का, तो आप लोग register कर लीजिएगा. And thank you so much for joining in and Allah Hafiz.